Welcome and thank you for watching. And this week we are going to talk about cloud computing.
Absolutely.
And we're not going to talk about the Fed. We're not going to talk about the ECB.
No.
And
For that, you can read the news or watch the news or whatever, but don't watch us because we're not going to talk about it.
Markets up. This year we talked about it a couple of times in the last market reporters. IT is doing great, and a subcategory of IT is the cloud services.
Cloud services, yeah.
And probably you know something about it, and hopefully not everything. We see a lot of papers, we have a lot of data for you, and I think we try to always talk about sectors and not individual stocks, because individual stocks is difficult. And this time it's a subsector again that has a great potential, because it's expected that from now this year till 2030 the market will grow with at around 20%. And we say it again and again. We talked about copper, we talked about other sectors. You want to be in a growing subsector.
Absolutely, that's
because,
why you want to take benefit of
it. If you are say, okay, I'm going in this imploding subsector, then why? Then you have to know for sure that share that must be then so good. So we believe in growing subsectors. Okay, now I said
there's no way back. I mean, data is not going to be stored again on floppy disks.
No, because you did need big floppy disks.
The big ones, yeah.
And I'm going first high over, talk about a little bit about the players in the market. Martin has some really interesting examples, and then I go a deep dive a little bit in those big three players, because the whole market is dominated by the three biggest players, and they own together 65% of market share in this market, and that's a lot. And they have monopoly in that, and that there are also big players, because the biggest one with around 32% is Amazon, and then you have Microsoft with 23%, and then Google with 10%. So they combine, and what I said, that are one of the biggest players in the market. So what you can do with your investment, you can say, okay, I believe in Google because of the advertisement, or I believe in Netflix. Or you can also say, okay, I do my analysis a little bit cross against it. I say, I look at the subsector.
Yes.
These are the players, and from that point of view, which one should I buy? And a lot of investors do have those shares in portfolios. Say, okay, I believe in this because that's for sure that will grow. We talked about it with the chip sector analyzer. So then I will shift maybe a little bit to that one based on
those,
the cloud. Great. Where they earn the money from. So I'm going to deep dive again, but Martin, you have another play in the market.
Yeah. I was out of my own interest. You said we were talking about the topic, and you said I'm going to talk about. You came up with a suggestion to talk about clouds, and a company that came to my mind directly was Snowflake. Snowflake is, and if you look at a snowflake, it has all these little crystals. No, it's like that, and that is basically how Snowflake works. And I found an interesting article about the comparison between Snowflake versus Amazon Web Services, and because it's both. Sort of like the same, you can store your data, but the difference with Snowflake is that a lot of these companies don't take the risk, or people say, I don't have all my data at Microsoft, or I have all my data at Google, or I have all my data at Amazon. They have a different sort of cloud service also to mitigate the risk that if some service is down, and that you can still get it from another one. And what is Snowflake doing is they're combining cloud with SQL. And I didn't know what SQL was, just as maybe I think the majority of our viewers, but that stands for Structured Query Language. So that basically means a query is a data set. We receive a lot of data also, you receive a lot of data, and that the data is then filtered out and put into a certain format. So that makes that Snowflake has this software, this ability to read much quicker and get your data much quicker from different places where it is stored, to say. So it has a much better performance speed-wise than Amazon Web Services. Then also the nice thing,
they work with Amazon Web Services.
Yeah, you can store your data there, but they also have their own cloud, and their own service where you can put data. But for instance, if you have a Amazon Web, you can also combine it with their own data cloud. And the nice thing is also that you could say, okay, with these companies like also Oracle, for instance, they have different modules. So you can take package 1, package 2, package 3, you can build it up. With Amazon Web Services, it's okay, you take the cloud, and of course you can scale up the amount of size that you need, but they really allows you to buy futures based on what you need it for. So you don't have to buy a default, take a package of which the half of which you will not use. And so in general, also what I read is if you want to change from for instance, Alphabet to Amazon, there's a lot of migration issues with Amazon Web Services. That is not the case with Snowflake. They have a much user-friendly migration process, not so much issues, etc. So that must be a really nice investment. Well, I think it is important to realize that it's a company that is losing money. They are doing a lot better than they were doing in the past. So
But they always lost money?
yeah, they've been burning a lot of cash. The turnover is increasing, so they're doing a lot more business, 48% more. The net profit the gross profit, is also up. So the gross profit, not what they have over at the end of the line, because the net income has gone down. So that is possibly because they have a lot of bank loans, they have more interest rate to pay or something. There's a lot of things going on like that. And the biggest mistake or biggest problem, what the analysts see with Snowflake, is the return on invested capital. So every euro or a dollar that they invest in something is not delivering what it should deliver compared to competitors. And compared to that, the free cash flow is quite tight. So, Martin, why did you talk about Snowflake? Mainly because
about the technique.
The technique, and I found that the technique apparently is better than the one from AWS, from Amazon. But is it interesting?
What's the market cap?
It's 55 billion.
Okay, so
it's not small.
When I was listening to you, I thought maybe this is the next purchase of Amazon, but 55 is still for Amazon a lot of money.
It's 55 billion, yeah, it's a lot. And you can buy it for $175 dollars on the stock market, and the target price is about $200. And if you look at the book value per share, so what is basically the share really worth? It's $17, 17. So keep an eye on it, follow it, because if they keep growing by 20%, then they take their stake out of it.
Yeah.
But for now, focus on the companies that Casper's going to touch down on, because I think they have much more into it.
It's quarterly 2-figure season, and Google Alphabet came already with the figures, and their cloud services were reported 28% up compared to Q2 last year. That was one of the triggers for us also to talk about this.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk again about one stock, because you can read it in the newspapers. We try to do it more like on another level. So it's what you saw in the other quarters. If the first one that reports good figures, then the other ones also report because
in general you see that.
Yeah, on the cloud services, I mean.
Yeah.
Because you can't compare, of course, Amazon with Microsoft, but you can compare their cloud services.
That's true.
And that's what you see in the sector is growing again. So probably they will report, and in beginning of August, I don't know out of my head, I thought 3 or 4 August, Amazon is coming with their figures. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
And what interesting is, I think, to see that Google, for the second quarter, made a profit with the cloud services. They invested a lot because they were behind, so they had to invest.
And the investments is then mainly servers, no?
Yes.
I suppose,
Yeah. And if you see where they do it, I took one picture from Amazon, from where are their cloud services. And I think we're going to show it in the screen. A lot of people think they are in North America. They are in North America. They have some in South America, but most of them are concentrated in Europe.
Yeah.
And they have something in Africa, in Asia, some Australia, but mainly it's concentrated in Europe.
Funny, also in India, I see there also in what is that?
It's also due because that some European regulators demand that the cloud should be stored within the EU zone.
Yeah.
So but you see, this is the center of the world, but it's also how you map the world. If you,
I was going to mention it to you before. Yeah, well, the world is always in the same way.
And then I wanted to talk about how important is the cloud service business for the 3 biggest players, and that maybe can help you making the right choices. If you look at, and I think we're going to show the picture. There are some pictures from different quarters, but the percentages relatively are the same. Google, so Alphabet, the cloud is really small part of it. Really, it does.
Small is how much?
It's 10% of the revenues. So that's not a lot. Do you compare with Microsoft? Microsoft is the biggest in that case. 40% of their revenues are coming from the cloud services. Their main incomes, the main revenue, are from the cloud services. Microsoft is really a cloud service. That makes it also maybe a little bit more easy as you say, okay, I believe I don't want to go deep dive into this. The market will grow probably with 20%. they have the biggest driver is the cloud service, I go for Microsoft. Amazon is much more complicated. If you look at Amazon, the revenues are not a lot. The revenues are 50%, but the profit is mainly due to their web services. Because if you say, okay, if the revenues will grow, then also the profit will grow directly very fast based on that.
Unless they need to invest a lot. Unless they need to still make a lot of investments.
Yes, but they do that all the time.
Yeah,
No, so I think from if you compare those together, that Alphabet still is coming from far, but that growth on cloud doesn't have a big impact.
No.
On revenues and on profits, Microsoft have, and Amazon not too much on the revenues, but on the profit also.
Profit side, yeah. Interesting.
Thank you. One thing quick to share, because the cost of the cloud, and then you see those three, they have all charged 2 cents per MB, I think it is. And Amazon, 2.2 cents, Microsoft 2.2, and Google 2 cents. So they need to, of course, you have different models, and the other ones are more expensive. But you have also Blackblades, for example, that's also a player in the market specialized in cloud, but they also make a loss, and they started with asking a quarter of the 2 cents, but they don't make a profit. So you see, they are so powerful. I think there won't be a next player, because if you look down the list, Alphabet, IBM, Salesforce, Oracle, Tencent, they all have around 3%. They won't get that biggest market share.
It's very difficult.
I don't think so. And if you think, I believe in that subsector, but I don't want too much in individual stocks, then, for example,
you can buy the Wisdom Tree cloud computing, and then you buy, I think, Snowflake, and you buy a lot of other cloud computing companies. And it's an interesting ETF, because it's one of those, if you have a portfolio, you have the world, you have maybe a country like the Netherlands or Spain or any so geographically, and then you're going to start building blocks with specific exposure. And this one could be very well, based on the fact that it's a growing sector, you could really think about maybe a tiny bit, and it's also nice to, I think, to add constantly to it, because it's one of those ETFs that started about 4 years ago at around 19 euros, and at the highest point was about 55, and at the moment it's trading at 30. So you're not buying at the highest point, you're not buying the lowest point, but it's the facts are there, right? So
but it's also like AI, where we spoke about it 2 weeks ago. Is it a bubble? No, because if you see, it's now trading at 30. It was trading at 50.
Yeah.
So it has a long way to go.
Absolutely.
So you can't. And if the growth of 20% in there this year is doing well, you can. And there are smaller players.
Yeah.
So the biggest players, you must realize it, but you must also do your homework, of course, if you want to invest in it. The biggest players, Amazon, Alphabet, and Microsoft, are not in this. So you can also combine it. So
definitely, yeah. And a lot of people buy also Microsoft because of because of the AI, or they buy Google for the advertising, and they buy Amazon because.
But AI and cloud is also going hand in hand.
Of course, it's all related. It's all related. So do your advantage with this information, and I think maybe Snowflake as well. It's the same as Blackblades. You read an article about interesting new company, but look further down the line, because the business is made by the bigger players, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon. Don't let yourself tend to, maybe I do an apuesta, as they say in Spain. I gamble on something. Focus on the bigger players.
Yeah, and look at your shares, those shares, or you want to buy from that perspective, because that's for like Microsoft, 40% of their of the turnover.
Thank you for watching.
Give it your thumb. See you next week. Martin and Tom.